Okay, so recently I was fiddling around with my hammer shot, and I don't know if this is a common problem or issue, but the first time that I removed the air restrictor and the dart pegs from a hammer shot, the performance tanked, even with the upgrade spring. And at the time, I didn't really know why and didn't care and was kind of over it, and I ended up throwing that hammer shot in the trash ultimately after destroying it in an angry rage. Let's not talk about that. But I did remove the AR in this, and whenever I did, I noticed between where the rings stop on the O-ring stops on the plunger head and where the end of the plunger tube actually meets this cylinder here, there is a ton of dead space. So I had this apart and was tinkering it and was looking at it and thought, well, if I could figure out a way to fill that dead space, it would probably increase performance if I just remove the AR and the dart pegs. And I have removed the dart pegs before, but I always leave the AR in. And I went ahead and did that. And this was chronoing around 70 to 80 with some low shots around 55, 60 sometimes, which is pretty bad. That's even with an upgrade spring. But average shots are around 70, 75, which isn't bad. But once I removed the air restrictor and filled dead space, I was getting shots between 80 and 89. And I had one low of 69.1. So that's a marked improvement. And that was over, I filled this 4 times, so that would be 20 shots on my chronograph. And so it's not like it was a fluke where I just got 5 good shots. I made sure to load it 4 times over 20 shots. So I'm going to go ahead and do that today on the hammerstorm, because unlike the hammer shot, whenever I put the upgrade spring in this and increased the seal and did nothing else, that brought my FPS up to an average of around mid 80s, but I've got shots as high as 101 out of this, which is pretty good. Average shots, like I say, mid 80s to 90. So I'm hoping if this has the same type of assembly on the air restrictor, which I'm 99% sure it does, I'm going to crack it open and see. I'm going to fill this in the same manner and show you all on camera, just because I haven't seen this. Maybe people do it. I don't know. I haven't watched every hammer shot video, but generally any hammer shot video, they're just putting in a kit from Orange Mod Works or whatever. I haven't really noticed much being fiddled with the AR and the end of the plunger tube there, because there's just a lot of dead space. And if you remove the AR, it just doesn't really improve performance, because you have like a third or half of the plunger tube's space, just dead space sitting there. Let's go ahead and crack this open. Yes. It is pretty much the same as the hammer shot. So what I end up having to do is pry these tabs open. You have to be very careful because you can't break this, but I have to pry the tab open, and once you take this orange piece off of the actual plunger tube, the air restrictor just falls out. But then you'll see all the dead space that I'm talking about. Okay, so I don't know if Nerf did this or if I accidentally got glue on it, but all of this here is solvent welded together, and it doesn't look like super glue like I would do. And I know I didn't put any sort of epoxy or DevCon or anything on it, but I could not get this off like I could on the hammer shot. But here you can see right around here, this spot is where the actual O-ring ends. So you just have all that space there that is open and dead once you remove the air restrictor. So I'm going to combat this by padding the plunger head and expanding that pad out to match up with the end of this, so that whenever the plunger head comes to a rest, there will be a pad on the end of it filling out that space. Okay, so I start by taking some 2mm foam, and that's going to be like my initial plunger head pad, which is going to get glued directly to it with super glue. From there, I'm going to take this plunger tube and put it back off and on and gradually build it out. But for that, I'm going to use some thicker 5mm foam. Okay, I've taken out the posts and smoothed out any rough spots from where I cut it. Filled in that dead space as much as possible. I would have liked to have been able to take this off and fill some of the dead space from the inside of this front piece, but unfortunately I had to heat up a screwdriver, melt out the backside of the stopper for the air restrictor, and do it from the plunger head only. So hopefully this works, because I want to be able to, if possible, not only shoot half-length darts, but also put 2 half-length darts in here and have 8 shotgun shots, so to speak, where it shoots 2 at a time, which would be pretty sweet. Now let's go ahead and put all this back together. Never been fired dart zone darts, and also some worker half length. Let's see if this destroyed performance or helped it a little bit. Okay, so numbers are 90.9, 71.3, 84.9, 85.2, 80, 87.2, 88.3, and 71.5. There were 2 darts that fit rather loosely. I don't know. Coop mentioned in his review that not all the barrels fit tight, and the ones that don't fit tight destroyed his average on his chronograph. He said there were multiple. I have 2, and I don't know exactly which ones they are, but I feel like they're right across from one another. And I don't know if that's because it doesn't look like a 2-piece mold. I thought maybe there would be a seam going across, but I don't see a seam. But I don't know if it's maybe just the dart, but every single one of those ones that are loose, I swear, are the ones that are doing that. And of course, 90.9 being the highest. Now, let's try some worker half-length darts. Okay, all of those were, let's see, the lowest one was 82.5, the highest one was 111.7, and the last one was 96.7. That was shot number 8. So, since I wanted it for half lengths, that's not bad, but 90, upper 80s to 111 FPS, like I said, I feel like that's kind of the exception to prove the rule. Seems pretty high. I don't know if this cheap chronograph will register a shotgun shot of 2 darts, but I'm going to try it. See what happens. Yeah, I got 53.5. So with 2 worker half lengths, that's what I kind of expected. 50 to 55 max. So that's not terrible though. For 8 shots, shotgun style with 2 half-length darts, that's actually pretty cool. But let's see how it shoots now that I've done that. Like I said, I didn't notice really any increase in the numbers with waffle heads. They're pretty much the same, but I do want to do one more test, which is some Zuru X-Shot darts. Okay, so I had a bunch of errors, so I'm just going to take the last few shots. For example, this one was 103.5, which not bad, but 81.3, 83.8, 82.9, 103.5. But yeah, I had some egregious errors, and then I had two that were at 80, one at 99, one at 98.4. Like, yeah, so pretty much the same type of results as I was getting before using the X-Shot darts. But I don't, even though they are a little lighter, I feel like the foam is better quality, as in it doesn't get smashed and worn out as quickly as Nerf does. There's 85. But the thing is, they're not super accurate. Some blasters that I have, they are more accurate than waffle heads and other things, and those are generally all blasters that are front load like this. But as far as my testing with this, the waffle heads just ultimately go straighter. But let's see how these worker half-length darts do in comparison, because I am curious. Okay, so real quick before the firing demo, I did pop apart my other hammer shot and decided to do the same mod. And on that one, I was able to get the end off. So here you can see the end of the plunger head here, and what I did to that, same as the other. But what I was talking about on the inside was this here, which is where I just used foam to fill some of the extra dead space on the inside. I wish I would have been able to do that on the hammerstorm, but whatever. Okay, I have some worker half-length darts loaded up here, and I've got two and then one cut down half elite dart, but I'm going to use this for shotgun effect. I'm going to be aiming at the target down there, and the wall is 45 feet. The target that I'm shooting at is 40. Let's see how this works out. And now for some Dart Zone waffle heads. Okay, so in summary, whenever it's a case like the hammer shots where I was actually able to get the front of the plunger tube off, I noticed a rather large difference whenever I filled the dead space and so on and so forth. Between the three of these, the most difference was in this one. However, this one does have an upgrade spring in it, whereas this one just has a stock negotiator spring from the Doomlands Negotiator, and I put a spacer that I made, and I made the spacer from sawing off part of a Gorilla Glue cap from this empty Gorilla Glue bottle. I know, right? Pretty slick, huh? But oh, and I did add on this and integrate it and sand it and paint it off camera, BT dubs, and also put the skull and bones. So this is going to be skull and bones. Left hand, right hand. I did weight this one with BBs just like I did in this video, but due to the fact that I couldn't get the front of this plunger tube off and couldn't actually fill some of that dead space, there was pretty much no noticeable difference in power as far as all that goes, as far as chronograph. But I can now shotgun two half-length darts at once, which is pretty cool. With slightly angled shots, I was only getting like 35, 40 feet. With an actual angled shot, I'd probably be able to get 45, 50 feet, but that's about it. But that's still pretty cool to have 8-shot shotgun that you can operate single-handed. That's just pretty cool. Okay, so that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. I feel like I've achieved what I wanted to. It was unfortunate I wasn't able to get the end of the plunger tube, that orange cap off, to fill it the same way that I did with my hammer shots. But I am quite pleased with the fact that I can at least fire 8 shots of shotgunning 2 worker half-length darts, or any other half-length darts that I decide to shove in there. And to point out, I can do it with this hammer shot in particular, since I have the upgrade spring for it. I'm still waiting on the upgrade spring for this one. I ordered it from Foam Blast. It should be here soon. But once I was able to hit 90 and above shots on this, I was just so happy, because I love messing around and plinking with my hammer shots, but I don't really want to use them in a Nerf war if they're just shooting between 65 and 75, 80 FPS, especially when those lower shots are like 65. With this one, the lower shots are 70 and 75. I rarely have anything under that, and the higher ones, like I say, are 85 to above, a little bit above 90. This one I have taken apart yet again since the last thing I filmed and filming this outro. And one of the things I realized was on my plunger head, I had like 3 layers of electrical tape. I don't know why I did that, but the O-ring was so tight that even though I had the spring with the spacer in it, I was getting really bad performance in chronograph shots, like low shots of 55 and high shots of like 70, and that's just not good. Since I fixed that, it actually is doing much better now, so hopefully whenever I get the upgrade spring from Foam Blast, these will be close to identical in performance and FPS. It won't be exact because these aren't drop-in kits. Like, I'm just tinkering around with stuff, and that's not the same thing as something that's been machined or 3D printed or designed. It's just me messing around with stuff. But that's part of my favorite, one of the favorite aspects personally of this hobby, is doing that. It's fun to get a drop-in kit and put it in, but even then I end up tinkering with other aspects that don't come with a drop-in kit. And that was one of the things I've been thinking of a lot ever since starting with these hammer shots. They make replacement stuff, you know, triggers, hammers. Nobody's made a replacement plunger tube that just fills that dead space. Even if it wasn't a whole plunger tube, maybe just, let's say, a replacement end cap that had a 3D printed, you know, engineered design piece that would fit in and just fill the dead space from where the air restrictor was to the end of that. Even just something like that, if you don't want to do like a full plunger tube. But that made such a world of difference, being able to do that. Granted, I'm going to have to be careful to not dry fire these, just so I'm not destroying the internals. And I also feel like at some point you won't be able to find hammer shots. It's already a little bit harder to find them. I never see them at Walmarts or Targets ever. I do find them thrifting, which is where I got these. I had more hammer shots, but like I said, I've rage quit. I've given them away, just out of sheer frustration. But hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please leave a like, and if you would like to, subscribe. And as always, have a great day.